be preaching in our pulpits. And yet our pulpits are built upon the back of just such a performance. So what was Papa saying? I do not look upon the countenance nor the stature of man. I see his heart. And Peter's heart was rich. There are some people in your lives today that you hoped I would pull something out of my pocket to just instantly set you and them free. Some formula, some tape series maybe that you could buy for $49.95 usually online, but today I'll give it to you for half price. But you need to follow my ministry really close because everybody else doesn't have this formula. And, it's complicated. It's complicated. Can't give it all to you in one sitting, You got to follow me around. Not everybody has this formula. And my unique journey has defined this formula. I'm Danny Wallace to somebody now. And I have deep truths that no one else knows. Ain't got nothing deep. Ain't got nothing complicated. I follow the wisdom of one who stood and proudly declared, let me sum the entire law and the prophets down to one sentence. How about you just treat other people the way you'd like to be treated? How about you start there? How about you start there? So I left that barn at 10 years old, and I'll tell you what I thought. Let me just go ahead and tell you, it's being taped a variety of ways this morning. Lord knows where this will end up. You ain't even supposed to say this inside of a high holy organization. But this one, I've already decided ain't real high and holy this morning. It is just Papa's heart. So I know I'll get away with it. That little 10-year-old boy left that barn thinking to hell with all of you. I don't care if you love me or not. You like me if you want to. If you don't, I really don't care because I'm tired of being sold. I'm tired of being trampled. I'm tired of being my face dripping in spit from an alcoholic that you deem to be so great. I'm tired of wearing mask after mask after mask for you to accept me and to love me and to know that if you saw what's behind this mask, not any of you in your holy self-righteousness would love me for a moment. Because if you saw how broken and how beaten and how discarded and how worthless I am, you most likely would deem me beyond all hope. And I left that barn with this one resolve. I'll tell you one thing, old man, and I was saying it in my spirit to my dad. You may beat me, you may force me to eat every meal with pigs. You can sell me every day of the week, but I will never shed another tear for you. Not as long as I live. I will never, ever shed another tear for you. And I held to that for a solid year. For a solid year, my dad made my life hell. I wanted a puppy always as a pet, and my dad would kill every puppy that was born under the floor of our house by a stray dog because he knew I wanted one. I'm telling you, life went from hell to beyond hell, behind the walls of our home, but I would not cry. I was so blackened in my heart and so hardened and so broken and so self-determined. And on a Friday afternoon, a year later, when I was 11 years old, my uncle called me one Friday afternoon and he said, Danny, there's a revival going on in a little country Baptist church over here. You've met the pastor before. He's heard you play. Piano player is sick. He's played all week. He wondered if I could get you to come play tonight. I thought, could he? For a chance to put on my little Danny Wallace gospel music mask and walk down the aisle and hear people whisper, that's him. He's good. He's somebody. Oh, little did my uncle know, who thought my dad was the greatest man who'd ever lived. Oh, I would literally lay down and bleed for you to get out of this home and to have that opportunity. So at that revival service, I hit the platform, man, did I tear it up. Whew, I thought I was good. They played all the songs I know. And when I got finished, I went about 3 or 4 rows back, scooted in, kind of in the middle. My aunt and uncle were in that row and several other people. Church was jammed. Oh, listen, it probably about the size of one of your linen closets in this church. Maybe a little closet where you store music stands or something. I don't know. Little old country church, wooden floors, dust all over the floors, rickety old pews. If you weighed over 200 pounds, you had to sort of do a butt test before you went down in it because you didn't know if it was going to hold you up or not. I warned you as a hillbilly before we started, okay? It was country by every standard. And man, when I saw the evangelist walk to the pulpit, I was already about to check out because I'd heard this old boy before. I had heard him in different places where I'd been get up and speak and pray. He couldn't even pray without yelling. And when he preached, he would spit and he would yell and he would stomp and he would wave his Bible in the air. It went something like this. Y'all ever heard them kind? And after he'd do that a while, some little sister with her hair balled up with about 155 hairpins somewhere in the church would go, "Bless him, Jesus." And I remember thinking, he could be cussing you out for all you know. Bless him, my foot. I'm younger than you, and I can't even understand him. I know you don't know what he's saying. So I was checking out. I thought, man, we're in for a bad evening. So I had my little mask. I just sort of retired it for a minute. It didn't require me to get on the platform. I was just going to wait for my opportunity for the invitation. And that old man walked behind the pulpit real slowly. And I'm told by many people that they had never heard him do it before and never heard him after. He only preached about 15 or 20 minutes. And he began like this. It was just so silent for a moment. He said, "If I had a title to my sermon tonight, it would be, would you like to know a Father who loves you?" And he had me from the jump. I mean, from the opening words, and he spoke softly for 15 or 20 minutes. And here's the Papa he described to me. He told me of a Papa whose heart literally skips a beat every time I walk in the room. That when he looks at me, he thinks I'm beautiful, that I'm wonderful. He even waves his hand to all of heaven, to Gabriel and to everyone, and says, "Shh, be quiet, Danny's here. Look at him. Isn't he wonderful?" He didn't call my name. That's what he was saying to all of us. This is who you are. And when it came time for the invitation, you know how we'll all scramble a minute and we're trying to get out from under it? I could just sense the invitation coming. I'm already getting a little gospel music mask about out. It's time for me to get and do my thing. And what does he do? This day was so important for somebody that old man said, "Stay right there, Danny. I don't want any music tonight." And so a cappella, we stood in that little country church under an invitation that just simply went like this. If you would like to know a Father who loves you, step out. I must have knocked everybody in that pew over. I didn't step anywhere. I literally ran to that altar, and that little boy who for a solid year had held to his promise that he would never cry again, everybody must have thought I was having a nervous breakdown. A river of tears came out in that altar, and I remember that old man kneeling beside me and putting his arm around me, saying, "Would you like to know this Father who loves you, Danny?" And I thought, oh yes, if there is indeed a Father who loves me, oh, I so want to know Him. I want to know Him. If He can see what I am, if He can see where I've been, and He will love me, oh yeah, I want to know Him. And right there in that altar, these are the words that I heard. I literally heard them in my heart as if they were audible. "Danny, you finally found a Papa, a Father who will never leave you or forsake you. No matter where you go, highest mountain or lowest valley, I make you this promise, I will always be there with you." But he went further than that. He said, "Little did you know that in that workshop at 5 years old, I was there. Had I not been there, you would have never made it this far. Every meal you ate with the pigs, I pulled up an old 5-gallon bucket, turned it upside down, sat right beside you, and I ate every bite you ate. And on the night they locked you in the freezer just before the door closed, I was right there with you. I have always loved you. I have always loved you. And I will always be with you, no matter what it looks like. I will not forsake you. And boy, did the enemy give that an extra try across those years until I married Lynn at 17 years old. And then 8 months later, our oldest son was born. You do the math. We had a dear saint of God in our community that kept a running calendar. She went to one of the local churches, and when the young folks would get married and the first baby came along, she'd check off all the days and count them. I'm just going to go ahead and save you the trouble, okay? You'll soon discover that all of my dirty drawers is right out on a public line for everybody to see. Because there is no freedom outside of transparency. I'm very honored to be wearing the garment that I wear today. I'm very honored to be wearing the spiritual garment that has a bright red thread of secret child abuse and sexual abuse running through it. Please don't be tempted to pull that thread out. Please don't be tempted to silence me. There are so many people who are sitting in the cage and the shame of silence that need this transparency to be free. But it went further than that because of looking for the love of a father, and I'm going to go deeper into this issue tonight for many of you who are really seeking answers on this. I realized that in going through the puberty years, I had one foot in a homosexual world, one in a heterosexual world. I didn't know how I got there. I had no idea how to get out. And as you may have already discovered, the local church was not exactly the ideal place to go to discover that. I can stand on a platform of a 10,000 member church in America or a 200 member. It doesn't matter where you put me. And I can ask for a show of hands, which I will not do here this morning. But I can ask for a show of hands quickly. How many people who were bound by the awesome stronghold of homosexuality, and because of the love, the prayers, the transparency, I will not let you go. You are a great treasure. Love, you found freedom. Quick. Hands up. 10,000 members can be sitting there, and there ain't no hands going up. Now, I can ask the same thing about drug abuse or divorce or anything else, and Lord, there'll be a multitudes of hands. Why? Because that's been a high priority of our hearts. Let me make a bold statement to you this morning, and I want you to listen close and don't discount me. Come back tonight so you can learn the deeper truth of it. But here is a bold statement for you. Lucifer cannot maintain the stronghold of homosexuality without the full allegiance and cooperation of the organized lowercase c spelling of the church. He cannot do it. For it is we who hold the lock on the door and maintain the silence. It is we who have left the cross with our fire insurance because we want to go to heaven and not hell. But we leave also scooping up along the way a lot of what the Pharisees wanted us to pick up and believe that they were treasures. Our righteous indignation, our judgment, our preacher voices that separate us from the common man. I was in a conference recently where they booked me in one hotel and the conference goers to another hotel, and the assistant who booked it had the audacity to say that the reason she was doing that was so that we would not have to mingle with and get this word, it's real important, the common folk. And I thought, well, bless God, you got me in the wrong hotel already. I'm as common as it gets. Listen, if I don't get a chance to hug every one of you today, if I don't get a chance to bless you eyeball to eyeball and hand to hand, if I don't get an opportunity to tell you that I love you, you don't have to love me back. You can all log onto my website next week and say, biggest clown I've ever heard. About that deep theologically. Gaudy, goofy, hillbilly, he ain't one of the treasures of the king. Say whatever you want. I don't love you because you love me back. It is my highest honor to love you. It It is the joy of my life to love you. There are no conditions attached. Some of you are wanting to know how to free someone in your life.